thorough understanding of Facebook's advertising guidelines and community standards. And we're about to dive into probably one of the most important things you can do as a Facebook marketer, which is to properly set up your business ad manager account, because this is where you're actually going to go on and start to place ads, to optimize your ads, to scale them. If those terms are foreign to you, don't worry, you'll have a thorough understanding of them very, very soon. But before we do, I want to again reel it back a bit and share with you a little bit of wisdom that I had imparted upon me from one of my mentors who has earned over 8 figures in this industry. So one of the things that, again, he did fairly early on was he sat me down and he told me that, Jaden, do you want to be good or do you want to be prolific? And I said, of course, I want to be prolific. I want to be exceptional. I want to stand out in this industry. And then he asked me, how hard do you think it is to go from good to prolific, go from good to exceptional? And I said, it's probably very difficult. And he went on just to explain to me, kind of blow my mind. He was like, it's actually really easy. I was like, what? It's easy. And then he began to impart upon his wisdom on me. And he said that, Jaden, the majority of people in this industry operate at doing the bare minimum, just what they need to do to get the results that they want. The few people that you're looking up to who you consider prolific, some of the industry leaders, they're just doing slightly more than average. That's all it takes to go from good to prolific. So that's why when we do things like go over these Facebook advertising guidelines, and a lot of trainings when it comes to Facebook ads would just have you automatically go and just start placing your ad. But the reason we're getting you to do just that little bit of extra work so that you can start to elevate yourself to prolific. So don't be thinking to yourself right now like, oh my gosh, I have such a far ways to go to get ahead. You have to understand that the majority of people around you, they're doing the bare minimum. You just need to do slightly more to elevate yourself to that level of prolific and to put yourself on that path. And by the way that we structure this entire course, that's what we're doing. So that's why if you kind of stop and you think to yourself, like, well, I wonder why they're going into so much detail here. Do I really need to know this to get going? The answer is no, but we want to give you that extra bit of wisdom, that extra bit of knowledge that will take you to that prolific level, because we want to set you up for success as best as we can. And again, not just success with GAZ or Nagic, but success for your future business endeavors that you're going to go on, whether that's consulting, whether it's creating your own courses, whatever the heck it might be. So just understand that difference from good to prolific, it's not like this. It's actually more like this. It's just people don't realize it, okay? It's going that little extra mile, giving 100, that cliche, give it 110%. It's that extra 10% that is what actually separates good from prolific. It's not a whole lot, and it's all the things that we're teaching you in Facebook Ads Mastery. That's it. Enough rambling. Let's dive right into the training. Okay, we're back at my laptop, and we're going to go through how to set up your business manager account. Before we do, I want to give you some context on kind of where we're going. So Facebook operates where there's their kind of personal platform. So this would be just like Facebook in general, the Facebook that you're used to. But then what a lot of people don't realize is they have a business platform. And that's what's classified as this business manager, okay? And this business platform is actually almost like a separate world from the personal Facebook platform. So we're going to be setting up a business manager account. The reason being is because when we set up a business manager account, we're able to do a few cool things. Number one, we're going to be able to create multiple ad accounts. Now, the reason why that's important is because obviously if you only have one ad account and let's say it gets shut down, which as I explained in the previous level is more than likely going to happen eventually, because it's just like getting a flat tire in a car, you'll be able to transition to another ad account if you do it properly. Whereas if you just have a personal ad account, which believe it or not, now that you've created your fan page, was automatically created for you. So technically you already have this this personal ads account. But we want to set up a business account because unlike the personal account, you cannot create multiple ad accounts. Okay, so on the business account, most people will be able to create 5 ad accounts right after that. So that gives you
5 chances where if one of your ad accounts gets shut down, you'll be able to transition to the next one. But if you just based all your advertising off this personal ad account, then what would happen is Facebook then will actually limit your ability to even create another business manager account. So if this did get flagged and you're like, oh, now let's transition to the business account, a lot of times you can't do that because Facebook actually just limits your ability to use its whole advertising platform in general. So that's why it's important we do the groundwork first on this business manager account, and we really won't touch this personal ad account unless it's like a very last resort. Unless all your ad accounts get shut down, that's the only time I would suggest actually using this account. And just to show you guys, you can actually see here, if you click the arrow in the top right, this isn't in the steps in the included workbook, and I go manage ads, you'll be able to see that I'm actually inside my personal ad account. So you won't have all these other options up here because obviously you guys aren't managing other ad accounts. It'll just have this your personal ad account. But you guys actually technically right now have somewhere where you could begin placing ads from. So I just wanted to make that aware to you, but also let you know that you never want to be operating out of your personal ad account. You always want to be operating out of your business manager ad account for the reasons that I explained. So you can create multiple ad accounts and transition to them if you get shut down. But there's also other reasons that we don't go into in this workbook or training, but you can also do some other things, like you can actually invite people to your ad account. So let's say down the road, you start to get to the point where you don't necessarily want to be the one managing all your ads. You can actually hire somebody to optimize your ads, to scale your ads, meaning to like increase the budget when it makes sense for you without having to give your username and password to like your personal Facebook. You can create them. You can basically set permissions. You can be like, hey, I'm going to make you I believe it's like an analyst where you can only see stats, or I'm going to make you a advertising manager where you can only place ads but you can't access billing information. So you can do that. And the business manager also opens you up to some other features you can explore down the road as well. But the main reason we're doing this is to make sure that if your ad accounts ever do get shut down, you'll be able to transition. So now that you know kind of where we're going and the difference between the personal Facebook platform and the business Facebook platform, let's dive right into things and get going. So step number 1 is to create a business manager account here. So I have put a link in the workbook, but basically you're just going to go to business.facebook.com/overview. And when you go there, it's going to take you to a screen that looks a little something like this. And in the top right corner, you'll see a blue button that says create account. You're going to click this button, and then it's going to ask you to type in your business name. So clicking the button was step 2. Step 3 is now typing your business name. So if you have a corporation name, then type your corporation name here. Excuse me. If you don't have a corporation name, then what I suggest doing is typing your last name. So in my case, it would be Easton, and then just adding the word leadership to the end of it. So Easton Leadership, your name, or your last name, leadership. Okay, I have that outlined in the workbook as well. Then you're going to click the blue continue button. I'm going to have to just add some random numbers here so I can move forward because it won't let me use the same business name as I created previously. Anyways, if the next, once you press that blue continue button, you'll be on to step number 5, and it's going to ask you for your full name. So write your full name, and then it will follow by your business email. Now, it's important that this email that you put here is not the same email associated with your personal Facebook profile. So remember how I mentioned there's a personal Facebook platform and then there's a business Facebook platform. We don't want the same email address on both of these platforms because, again, it increases the likelihood that if one of your ad accounts got banned on your business profile, it could also impact your personal. We want to separate these as much as we can, and separating it by a separate email is a really smart idea, at least from experience that we've seen. So if you don't have another email address, you may have to create one. So if you use Gmail, you just have to create another Gmail account. If you don't remember what email you used for your personal Facebook, just go back over to facebook.com. In the top right-hand corner, click the drop-down arrow and click Settings, and you'll see which email is associated with under contact right here, which email is associated with your personal Facebook profile. So I would not want to use contact@jadeneeson.com. I would want to use a separate email, like I could use my GAS email, like jaden@globalaffiliatezone.com. Okay. So again, if you don't have another email, then you'll just have to create one. So just go to gmail.com, yahoo.com if people still use Yahoo, et cetera, et cetera. So you might have to pause the video and do that, but just enter another email that's not associated with your personal Facebook account, and then click the blue finish button, which is step number 6. And upon doing that, I'm not going to do it because I already have a Business Manager account. It's going to take you, one moment here. I just need to get to where it is going to take you. So it's going to take you right here. It's going to look a little something like this. The only difference is you're not going to have, obviously, any ad accounts because we haven't created those, and you also actually won't have any pages associated with your ad account either. So it's basically just going to say ad accounts, it'll be blank, and pages, it'll be blank, and then it'll say your last name, leadership here. And once you get here, this is step number 8 now. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, click the blue business settings button. It's going to open a new tab in most cases and take you to a page that looks a little something like this. Step number 9 is you're going to hover over the left side of the screen and click the Pages tab. When you do, for most cases, you'll see in the middle of the screen, you'll see a blue add button because I already have pages added to this account. You'll see for me it's up here. So just look for a blue add button. And what we're going to do here is now we're going to add your fan page you created in the very first training video. We're going to add it to your Business Manager account. So we're basically going to tell Facebook, like, hey, Facebook, I want to take my fan page from the personal Facebook platform and I actually want to move it to the business Facebook platform. And when we do this, the fan page is actually going to look a little different. And I'll explain, and I'll show that to you in a moment. But we're going to click this arrow, and then from the drop down, we're going to click add a page. Okay, so it's the first option there. And then you're just going to type whatever you named your Facebook page. So in most cases, that's literally just going to be your first and last name. You can see if I start doing that, I can add any of the fan pages that I've created. Obviously, I have a bunch here because when we were creating this training, I had to make it multiple fan pages to test things out. But for you, it should only basically show up as one. You'll click it, and then you'll click the Add Page button. Obviously, I can't because I've already added this. But you'll just click the blue Add Page button. And that was step number 11, which brings us to step number 12. But before I get into that, I just want to show you what I mean when I say that now the fan page is going to look a little differently. So you'll see here if I actually go into my pages, and this is also, if you're wondering how you access your pages, you can click Pages over on the left side and Explore. And then on the very right, you go Your Pages. And you can see these are all the pages that I manage or that I own. So I can click on this one, for example, and it will take me to my page, and you'll see it looks a little different than previously. Biggest thing is it has this drop down now where I can switch between any of my Business Manager accounts or my personal ad accounts. But just keep that in mind. The interface does typically look a little bit different, but the gist of it is it's more or less the same. I just wanted to mention that because, again, what we were doing is we were switching it from the personal Facebook platform over to the business Facebook platform. Okay, so we're changing it over to the business world. So that is that. If you had other fan pages as well, you could also add them here, which would probably be a good idea. But the majority of people going through this will just have one, so that move is complete. Then we're going to hover over the left side of the screen, and we're going to click now the Add Accounts tab. Okay, and we're basically going to do the same thing. There will be a button in the middle of the screen that will say Add, or for me, you can see it's in kind of like one like the top left. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually create our very first ad account. Because right now we set up our Business Manager account, and we've added a page to it, but we technically don't have any ad accounts. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to click that button, and you're going to go at the very bottom, Create New Ad Account, and that's explained in step number 13. And then you can see step number 14, it says from the pop-up window, type a name for your ad account next to the account name. So what I suggest naming this is your last name. So for me, that'd be Easton, and then add marketing, campaigns, and then put the number 1 at the end. And then basically, as we create more ad accounts in the future, your next ad account is going to be named, can you guess? Your last name, Marketing Campaigns 2. And then the next one, your last name, Marketing Campaigns 3. So we're going to kind of follow that naming methodology. And then the only other thing you may want to do is, this is outlined in step number 15, is leave the other options as is. unless the time zone is wrong. So technically the time zone is actually wrong for me. Because I'm in Canada, I would choose this American/Vancouver. And then I would also probably want to change this from US dollars to Canadian dollars. But again, you'll know what's right for you there. There won't be anything you can do for payment methods yet because we haven't added payment methods. We'll do that later. And then you'll click this blue Create Ad Account button. And it's going to take you to one more screen as I outlined on step number 16. I'm going to see if I can actually get there for you just so I can show you guys what it looks like. It's not very complicated at all, but let's just see here. So I'm going to go Create Ad Account. This is for a client, so obviously their naming is a little bit differently, so just ignore what I'm doing here. Let's go back to X3. And I'll go Create Ad Account, and this is a screen that you get to next. It's going to ask you to add people to your ad account. So at the beginning of this training, I mentioned to you guys that you could technically invite people with different roles to also oversee or manage your ad account. So for the time being, it'll just be you. So what you'll do is you just go ahead and click your name, and then you'll change yourself to an ad account admin. Okay, so you'll click this drop down, click Ad Account Admin, and then you'll click Save Changes. And like I mentioned, down the road in your own time, if it makes sense in the future, you can actually add more people to your ad account. So you can see in this case, it's Ken and Deanne. So if I wanted to, I could also assign them a different role. So maybe I want them just to be an analyst where they can only access stats, or an advertiser where they could place ads, but they couldn't access like any of the billing information or anything like that. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that so you knew what the screen looked like and all that. But then you'll just click skip, not skip, you'll click Save Changes. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back into my ad account. I just wanted to go there so I could show you. The reason being I didn't do it here is because I reached my max number of ad accounts currently, which is 5. So I have to go into a different one. So I could still explain it to you guys. Step number 17 is now hover over the left side of the screen and click the Ad Accounts tab. You should actually already be here, so that move is probably redundant. The only reason I added that there is to make sure that you were still on this page. And then step number 18 is you want to click this blue View Payment Methods button. Or for you, it might say Add a Payment Method. Or just look for payment methods, okay? And then you want to click the gray Add Payment Method button, and this will allow you now to add a payment method to your account. So this is the card that will be debited whenever, as you start to place your Facebook ads and you start to spend money with Facebook. So it gives you the option to add a credit or debit card, a PayPal, or add a Facebook coupon. So you probably don't have a Facebook coupon. I don't recommend PayPal, at least from what I've heard. Facebook doesn't really like when people add PayPal. It tends to keep a closer eye on your account. Again, I can't verify that 100%. That's just what I heard. I suggest you use a credit or debit card. Okay, so you're going to do that now. So add a credit or debit card. Maybe pause this video, and then you'll just press the blue continue button and follow the rest of the on-screen instructions. It's pretty self-explanatory. I believe you just ask for your credit or debit card, and I think it might ask for your billing address and everything like that. So you'll add a billing method to this particular account. And then that's it. You've created your business ad account. And one of the things I wanted to show you is now if you go into the top right, top right-hand corner, and you click this drop-down, what you'll see is that you now have your last name leadership. But if you scroll down, you'll also have where it says your personal ad account. Okay, so again, I mentioned at the beginning of this video, because you created your fan page, Facebook technically already created you a personal ad account, but we don't want to be advertising out of that personal ad account unless we absolutely have to. Okay, we only want to be operating out of our business manager account because we're able to transition to other ad accounts if one gets shut down. But if our personal account ever gets shut down, then it can make things very, very difficult, even in the business world, even in the business manager platform. And although there are solutions to still continue to advertise that we'll go over near the end of Facebook Ads Mastery, it ends up being a headache, and we don't want you to have to do that. So just know that you do have a personal ad account, and as a last resort, you can use it. But you always want to be operating on the business ad account, which is going to be your last name leadership. and you'll always want to make sure that this is selected. Okay, for the most part, this dropdown will kind of follow you around, and you'll want to make sure that you never, because it's sometimes Facebook just defaults to your personal ad account. So I will remind you about this in future trainings, but just always make sure your the business manager ad account is selected, not your personal ad account. Okay, and that's basically what I just said. That's explained in the workbook there on step number 20. Step number 21 is one of the benefits of creating a business manager ad account is it gives you the ability to create multiple ad accounts. Surprise, I already explained that. Just how many? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of factors, okay? So here's the deal. This is going to be different for everybody. It's going to depend on a lot of different variables. For example, how long you've had your Facebook account, or if you've ever placed Facebook ads before, maybe on your personal account, et cetera, et cetera. So some people actually may not be able to create more ad accounts, but we're going to try, and I'm going to tell you what to do if you can create more ad accounts, okay? So let's get into things here. So step number 22, we are now going to create another business ad account, but it has to be done in a very specific way so that if the ad account ever got shut down, you stand the best chance of being able to easily transition to this new one. And then afterwards, you can feel free to repeat the moves on this. Afterwards, you can feel free to repeat moves 23 to 28 as many times as you can so you can have multiple backup ad accounts. So in terms of how many ad accounts you should create as many as you possibly can. Typically for most people, this would be 5, so it should take you less than 10 minutes to just repeat the moves 5 times. And as you'll see here, it really is quick and easy. I'll show you. So step number 23, in the top left-hand corner of the screen, click the button with the 3 lines. So this is what I mean, the button with the 3 lines. Then you're going to hover over where it says All Tools, and then on the very right side, you're going to click Business Settings. This is going to take us back to this page, okay? Then hover over the left side of the screen and click the Ad Accounts tab. It's going to take us back to here. Okay, you should now see 1 ad account there. Obviously, for me, there's more, but for you, there should basically just be 1. And then you're going to click that blue plus button again, and you're going to click Create a New Ad Account, okay? And then you're going to type your ad account name. This is step number 26. Remember, we're following the same naming pattern. We're going to do your last name. So in my case, it's Easton. Then you put marketing, campaigns, and then you'll put 2. And then remember, when you create another one, you'll put 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10, depending on what ad account it is. Then what you want to do is you'll want to make sure your time zone's right, obviously, and make sure the billing currency is right. Now, step number 27, I mentioned that you want to leave the other options as is or change it unless it's wrong. But sometimes next to payment method, there'll be a drop down asking you if you want to select the previous billing info that you inputted. Okay, if there is this drop down, you want to make sure that you select the option that's something along the lines of add payment method later. You do not want to add a payment method to your backup ad accounts. Okay, the reason being is because the only time you're going to add a payment method is if your main ad account gets shut down. So if ad account number 1 gets shut down, then you'll transition to ad account number 2 and you'll add a payment method. But the reason why you don't want to add a payment method to ad account 2 is because a lot of times what people do is enter the same billing info in both ad accounts. And again, Facebook tries to connect ad accounts together by various means, whether that's by the email address, whether that's by the billing info. So if it says like, hey, both of these ad accounts are the same billing info, then guess what? It must be the same. So therefore, we're just automatically ban both of them. So we only want to add billing info to our main ad account, and then the rest of them that we're creating, we want to be blank, and we only want to add billing info if our main ad account gets shut down. Okay. And another note, this is very important to kind of keep in mind, is you never want to add billing info that's been associated with a banned account. So when and if your ad account number 1 does get shut down, whatever billing info you entered at this account, it cannot be the same billing info that you enter in ad account 2. Okay, you need to use another debit or credit card. Most people have multiple credit cards nowadays, so that's typically not an issue. But if you're someone that for whatever reason only has 1, then you might need to get creative, and you might need to borrow a credit card from a friend or a spouse, or you might even just need to apply for another credit card. I cannot emphasize how important this is. Never enter billing info that's ever been associated with a banned account. This even goes for the small percentage of people that maybe you've entered billing info in your personal ad account already for whatever reason. Technically, it shouldn't be the same billing info that you even enter in ad account number 1. If you've already done that, it's not the end of the world, but just keep in mind that for all your ad accounts, whether it's your personal ad account or all these future ones that you're creating, never have the same billing info associated with any of them. Okay? It's a safeguard so that you'll be able to easily transition if one does get shut down. I know it's a little bit repetitive there, but it's very important that you understand that, okay? So as you're creating these future ad accounts, do not add billing info to them. The only time you want to add billing info to them is if your first one gets shut down. And furthermore, make sure the billing info is never the same across any of these ad accounts. It all has to be different. You have to figure out how you're going to do that. Anyways, that being said, so again, make sure if there is a drop down here, if it says no payment methods available, it's fine. If there is a drop down, make sure you select the option that's along the lines of add payment method later, and then click the blue create ad account button. And then it's going to take you back to that screen where you're basically assigning a role, right? So it'll say your name, and then you'll just have to make sure you make yourself the ad account admin, and then press the blue save changes. I'm not going to show that here, but because what you'll see is if I try to create this ad account now, it's actually going to give me you've reached the maximum number of ad accounts associated with this business manager account. So hopefully, for the majority of people, you're able to add that second ad account. If you were able to add that second ad account without being given this message, it means you should be able to create up to 5 ad accounts, okay? So what I would do then is I would go back to move number 23 or step number 23, or hopefully by now just kind of you get the process of how to add ad accounts, and repeat that as many times as you can. But again, the cap for most people is going to be 5, but I've seen some people, for whatever reason, can create like up to 30. And even though it's a little tedious, trust me, you want to create as many ad accounts as you can. So keep going basically until Facebook gives you this message. Now, if the unfortunate situation arises where you could only create that one ad account, and when you try to create your second one, you're given this message, that's okay. It just means you haven't built enough reputation up with Facebook, and you'll have to spend some money before Facebook is going to kind of lift the limit of accounts that you can create. So what I have heard is that basically, so what I would do anyways, sorry, I was getting a little ahead of myself there. What I would do is I would set a reminder in your smartphone right now from like maybe 2 weeks from now, okay? And the reminder would be like, see if I can create more ad accounts. And the reason what you want to do this, because a lot of times if you can't create a second ad account, you're going to forget that you can even create more ad accounts in the future, and then you're going to kick yourself when your main ad account gets banned. So if this is the case, it's okay. Facebook will remove the limit. When it's hard to say, you need to. They typically lift it after they see 1 or 2 weeks of spending. It could be more, but keep checking it until you are able to add another ad account. Okay, so again, I'm going to re-emphasize myself. If you did not get this message trying to add your second ad account, repeat moves 23 to 28 and keep adding as many ad accounts until Facebook does give you this message. If Facebook gave you this message when you try to create your second ad account, set a reminder on your smartphone for a couple of weeks to check if I can add more ad accounts. Okay, and because Facebook will lift the limit and typically give you 5. Once you've had like a couple weeks of spending, okay? So again, if you can't do that, just don't worry, exit out of it and set the reminder on your smartphone and come back and see if you can create ad accounts in the future. And that's it. Congratulations, you now have at least 2 ad accounts, right? You'll have your business ad account, and then you'll also have your personal ad account. But hopefully you have more. Hopefully you have 6. The cap for most people is going to be 5. Okay, but whatever you have, don't worry, don't let it stress you out, because even if you could only create the 1, you'll be able to create more very, very soon. Just set that reminder on your smartphone, and that's it. Hopefully this level was insightful, and you understand that there's technically 2 Facebook platforms: the personal platform and the business platform, and you always want to be operating out of the business platform. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next level.